Excuse me, that kind of snuck up on me. It's 10 o'clock. So it's only a couple people missing, so we're gonna get going here. So here's what we're doing today. I'm gonna share a screen here and pull up the plans. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we're adding this decorative bead work around the outside edges of the drawers. Okay, so what I've done in preparation is I've set up a stacked dado set to cut a rabbet that is a 1/4 inch deep, a 1/4 inch wide to accept this beaded trim work. Okay, I've also milled down a bunch, well, enough oak to a 1/4 inch thick. Then I've gone and put a bull nose on it, which is what this is called, and then rip the pieces out. And I'll show you that process, or at least explain that process to you. Okay, so basically, here's how it goes. The first thing I did was, well, I ran a test. I should say that's not the first thing I did. Clean my brush off. I did a test piece with a rabbet all the way around it. Okay, 1/4 inch wide, 1/4 inch deep. Okay, to make sure I wasn't going to jack up all the drawers when I went to do it. It did real well. So next step was to get some oak and mill it down. There's Andrew. Mill it down to the proper thickness so that it fit in this rabbet perfectly flush with this upper edge. So basically what you do is you take your test piece or your drawer or whatever over to the drum sander after you get done at the planer, and you just you drum sand it down until you get that perfect flush fit that you're looking for on that surface. Okay, so I started with 2 boards that were 36 inches long and they were about 5 inches wide. All right, got them down to thickness, jointed one edge, ripped the other edge, so I had 2 parallel edges. Then we take a bit in the router table that's called a bullnose bit, okay? And it's this guy right here. And basically what it's doing is in a single pass, I'm gonna try to do this so you can see it. In a single pass, it creates a little rounded edge, okay? And basically what you do is you round this edge, you put a bullnose on this edge and on this edge. Okay, I did it on both my boards. Then I go to the table saw, I rip 3/8 of an inch off this edge, rip 3/8 of an inch off the other edge, same thing to the other board, go back to the router table, bullnose both edges again, then rip the edges off, bullnose the edges again, rip the edges off, blah, 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 until you end up with a whole boatload of bullnose trim edging stuff. I tend to go overboard when I make this stuff. I don't know if you can see the bullnose on it really. I tend to go overboard when I make this stuff because I want extra. I want spare because this is a little bit of a headache for doing these miters. You're bound to make some mistakes and you might as well have plenty of extras. When we get ready to do the timbre door, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have extra slats. According to the plans, you need 40 slats for the timbre door. I'm going to have way more than that. I'm going to have 50 to 55 slats. And there's a couple reasons for that. Number one, if I make a mistake, I've got a replacement part. Okay. Number two, we're going to be rounding these pieces over on the router table. And if you've ever worked with oak in here, you know that it tends to tear out, splinter sometimes, especially on the router table. So as I work these pieces for the timbre door and as I did these for the trim, I just kept an eye out for pieces that were tearing or splintering or something like that. So I want to have plenty. I don't want to have to go back through the whole process of thicknessing, prepping the lumber, getting it the right thickness and all that. And I want all my pieces to be the same. All these trim pieces need to be the same. When it comes to the timbre slats, they need to be the same. You're going to see it if they're not. Okay. So what I've done so far, I've got 2 drawers with the trim on them. Okay. I'm just using guitar binding tape to hold it in place. There's really no way to clamp these things, you know, and this does pretty good. Okay. There's also absolutely no way on God's green earth that you're going to get these miters and all these fits really perfect with absolutely no gaps. It's such small pieces that it's just not going to happen, at least not in this current environment here. So I know for a fact that there's going to be some pieces that have tiny little gaps and stuff, and we have a workaround for a lot of that stuff. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'll do the best I can, get these on there, and we'll go from there. Okay, so here's the process that I used to get these going. Okay, let's go over the dado saw, if I remember which button it was. Look at that, I remember which button it was. Okay, and I'm going to take, we've got 3 drawers left to do, which is nice because I'm doing this project in first period, third period, and fourth period every day since their projects are done. So we'll be able to get this done a little quicker. So I'm going to grab one of these larger drawers that slide out beautifully. And here's what we do. So this is a situation that I sometimes speak of out here. We have a pretty hard and fast set of rules for what we can and cannot do on a table saw or a dado saw, okay? This is one of those situations that I'm going to break one of my own rules. There's a couple reasons for me doing it. Number one, I'm perfectly comfortable doing it myself in this particular way. I consider it to be safe. I consider it to be logical. I consider it to be the best way to do it at my current level of experience, which is like down here, like way down here. But I'm comfortable doing this safely. And what I'm speaking of is it's no problem running this board lengthwise like this to get the rabbets along the long edges. But when it comes to the little ones, this is a really bad idea. You guys know that, short edge against the fence. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a miter gauge in conjunction with the fence at the same time. And normally what we would have is we'd have a little block of wood here temporarily clamped that we could bring this up to it. That's our stop, make our cut. That would require 2 different fence settings for the edges and the ends of this. I don't want to have to do that. I want consistency here. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to slide this right up to the fence and cut it like that. And I'm going to go over the blade while the board still is in contact with the fence, which in most situations is a no, all right? But the way I have it set up, the quality of this blade, the speed at which I'm going to go, my comfort level, I'm okay with it. So let's go ahead and cut these rabbets. Let's start down the front of the drawer. After that, right into the fence, nice and slow. And I would always want to do the end grain first, so there's a little tear out. Hopefully it's cleaned up when we do this. Okay. Nice and slow. Now we've got the edges. And honestly, I'm using a push block here for safety, but also because it gives me a lot more control over this as I'm going through it. The other side. I really do not want to screw up any of these drawers. I would hate to have to make a new drawer. All right, so there's our rabbet all the way around. Back over to the table saw. Okay, so there's our rabbet running all around it. Okay. For our little trim pieces. So these have to be mitered, okay? So that is, in and of itself, an interesting proposition. If you've never done a situation like this where you had to trim something out and the pieces were mitered, it's not hard, it's not impossible, it's not the end of the world. It just takes some patience and some thought as to how you're going to go about this. Okay, so the way I made this beaded trim, I told you guys I use a bullnose bit, and I've got plenty of trim. I got trim coming out of my ears here. Okay, so when you're doing this, when you're trimming something like that, and using miters, you generally want to start with a long edge first. Okay, so basically we'll end up putting a miter on one end, then we can come over and we can mark the other end according to the rabbet, and we can trim it. I also have a secondary piece here that I keep so that, and you'll see what I mean, so that I can line it up. So let me go ahead and put a miter on one end of this guy right here. Is this a good one? Some of these have little wormholes in them. So I prefer not to have. So we're just gonna make sure that fence is clean. So the reason I have a little temporary or test piece right here is so that I can take this. I'm gonna somebody get in here. Let me let Logan in. It's so that I can chase my way around this box. So basically, I'm going to set this where I think it's supposed to be lined up at this end. Then I can take my test piece and I can slide it up to it and see when these corners match up, I'm golden. So that's where I want to be. You know, I'm going to come off a little bit more. Okay, there's my corner. Now if I can keep this from moving, what I have is one of my pencils. There's a little piece of sandpaper right here. I just run it along there to get a really sharp, fine tip on it. Then I can take, and I know you guys can't see this. I wish I should turn around. And I can mark where this rabbit is. And I have a mark here where the corner of the rabbit is. Okay, so now I can go back over here. I can line up my pencil mark with the kerf on this jig or sled. Line it up. Watch my fingers, of course. And we'll see how we have it. So this little guy is absolutely necessary to have, because I'm going to line this end up where I originally had it. Now I can hold it in place. I can bring it over here and see how I did. And I need to take a little more off, which is not a problem. Just going to slide it over. Actually, what I'm going to do is this is an alternate top bevel blade. And what that means is every other tooth, one tooth, the tip of the tooth points up and to the left. The next one points up and to the right. So a really easy way to do this, to take just tiny amounts off. We do this on the miter saw sometimes. So I can bring it up here, find one of those teeth that points up and to the left, touch the tooth, touch my material to the tooth. Now I have a reference point. Now I can just carefully slide it over a little bit. I have a lot better control over how much I take off. Take my test piece, line it up at this end. I want. Looks like I might be okay, or maybe just a hair more needs to come on. Yeah, I gotta get a tiny bit more off. And I use a tiny bit. Do the old touch the tooth again. This is a tiny, tiny bit. So there we go. That's what I want. It sounded pretty good. It sounded like I took the right amount off. It is a, like I said, it's a tedious process. And it's even more difficult as a student if you're in here because you're sitting here at the table saw. Other people probably want to use the table saw. You have a limited amount of time. It can be very frustrating. I understand that. I have to. Oh, I may have taken too much off. Yep, took too much off. So that's one of the dangers. But this is one of the reasons I start with a long one. Because if I take too much off, if I do start with the little ones and I take too much off, it's trash. If I start with a long one and I take too much off, I've still got material I can use for the end ones in this piece right here. So that's fine. I can set this aside. That'll be the one I get these two end pieces from. I've got to start new, okay? So that actually, the first one I cut too short. So actually, I don't feel too bad about it. That's got a wormhole in it too. Let's try and find a clean one. There we go. All right, let's try this again. This is one of the reasons I make plenty of extra material. Think I can make the trash can from here? I'm not going to tell you whether I made it or not, but I did not. Very fuzzy cut.
Nah, you totally made it.
What's that?
I said, nah, you totally made it.
Yep, I sunk it. 2 points. Nothing but net. Of course I did. All right, let's try this again. Geez, that is a really bad cut. I'm going to trim that in. That was just a really bad cut. It's got fuzzies and tear out all over the place. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit off. Wow. I'm going to take more than that off. Yeah. Need a sharp blade. That blade's been on there a while. That would help tremendously, having a good sharp blade. Let's try this again. Second time's the charm. That's where I want to be. Mark it. So one of the other things you want to make sure to do, it's almost impossible to get a jig like this exactly perfect. You know, there's always little variations. Even with changes in temperature, it can vary. So when you're doing this, the two miters that come together need to be complementary. In other words, I'm going to cut one this way and one this way. So if this was off a little bit, then the difference in angle will match at the two mating ends. So you definitely want to pay attention to which end is what. Let's try that. Wow. I may have taken too much off again. I shouldn't have said anything about the first two drawers nailing it. I should have kept my mouth shut. No, okay. I'm okay. All right, you take the hair off. So I didn't cut it too short, at least. That's plus. Do the old tooth kiss here. Right up to it. Bring it off. Slide it over here and see what we got. That sounded just right. interesting the way you can tell by sound sometimes how well you did. It's like building those little wooden ship models. I don't have enough. There's not enough. Even though they put new lights in here, they put LED lights in here, it's still just, sometimes it's not enough. All right, there we go. We got it. So I'm going to hold it in place. I'm just going to get some binding tape. The same stuff we use for guitar bindings, if we do them. That should hold it. All right, we're going to continue working our way around. Next one's going to be this little guy right here. Okay, so I need this. So this is the piece I messed up, right? So I'm going to use it for the end pieces. Here's my mark. Mark, get set, go. I'm kind of losing it, folks. I'm here all by myself, and there's nobody to talk to. And so I'm kind of losing it. So don't get discouraged. Oh, that's just a thing of beauty right there. It's a beauty thing. Okay, a little more. This is going to be a tooth kiss thing again, because I do not want to take very much off. Do that again. I think it may have moved. Ah, that's it. Oh, I moved. Ah. I'm going too much. I'm going to try that. I just barely moved. See what that did. We need a little more. No? Yeah, I need a little more. Jeez, I'm talking just a tiny bit. Just. A tiny bit. So I asked last period what they're going to be for Halloween, and nobody's doing anything. A couple people are going over the coast to the dunes or going camping. Another one's got to work. Another one, I don't know what they said they're doing. Nothing. I think they're going to. One of them said they got to want to sleep. And it's like, holy mackerel, you guys. It's the first time Halloween's been on a Saturday forever. It's going to be a full moon. I mean, come on. How many opportunities do you get? You know? I mean, I'm even going to wear something to hand out candy to little darlings. Just a touch. Can't believe you guys don't. It's free candy. How many of you honestly want to pass up free candy? I just find it hard to believe. I was really disappointed in the last period. There we go. That's what we want right there. Not doing anything for Halloween. A wedding. It's not your wedding, is it? Hopefully not. I don't think you're ready. But you're the only one that can make that decision, really, when you think about it. Whether or not you're ready. And that's it. Just one person's going to a wedding. The rest of you are still asleep. I'm going to make, this is the only way I got answers from last period. I'm going to make a 20 question test for each day for the rest of the week. It's going to be 75% of your grade. And it's going to cover things like plant physiology, cellular biology, DNA, RNA, cellular organelles, woodworking, drafting, engineering, metalworking, culinary arts, and ICU nursing protocol. There's finally, I got Caleb finally said he's got to work. Okay, so you guys are either going to tell me what you're doing for Halloween, or I'm going to make a bunch of tests. I'm going to be evil. Okay, because I am all alone here. I'm bored, I'm tired. There's nobody to talk to, and it sucks. So you guys can participate for once in your little COVID life. Jasmine, you're going to work, movies and candy. That's actually not bad. Somebody last period said they're going to watch horror flicks or something. I like candy. Candy's good. Oh, that thing tore out. There's a big chunk out of the top of this. Haunted corn maze. What haunted corn maze? Is that at Fort Vanoy? Really? We just went out there and got pumpkins Sunday. I didn't know they had a haunted corn maze. I knew they had a corn maze, but not a haunted one. Would they have it open at night, like 10 or 11 o'clock at night to go through it?
It starts at 7, but the line to get into it takes 3 hours.
Oh my God, I'll bet, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only place to go for that kind of stuff anymore. There used to be a place over on North Applegate Road, on the north side of the river in the Applegate. There was a farm up there that you pull in. It had these giant slingshots. You could slingshot pumpkins and stuff at a car. And then you had to get on a hayride to get over to the pumpkin patch and the corn maze. But it was a tiny little corn maze. This one's actually really good. But with all this COVID stuff going on, Fort Vanoy was not the same this weekend. Usually there's kids running around playing in the little stuff, and they don't have hardly anything. They have that little cow train, and that's about it. A little depressing. But that's usually a really neat place to go for pumpkins and stuff. I really enjoy it. God, why is this thing cutting so terrible? So. Tighten up a little bit. All right, here's the third one. Any more? That's awfully nice that she shares half with you, Isaiah. That's pretty nice. Yeah. So Andrew, you're one of the people to scare people in that corn maze? You're working it? Oh, so they're not letting you in. You're just gonna go in. I see. That's actually not a bad idea. You know, I should go try to scare people in that maze. I would scare the hell out of people in that maze. I could do some serious scaring in that maze. Dress up as a woodshop teacher or a high school administrator. That is scary, man. Scary, scary. Well, this is just, I don't know if this is a bad piece or what, but this is taking some chunks out. Yeah, I wouldn't need a mask. That's absolutely true. Guaranteed. I'm scary enough as it is. I'm proud of that. Don't think I'm not. You can't handle the truth. That could be a pretty good scary person in a corn maze, I think. But I'm also old, which means I like to go to bed early, which means I wouldn't last very long out in the corn maze. I'd be wanting to fall asleep. And at least if I stay home and hand out candy, I can go to sleep anytime I want. So actually what we're gonna do is I bought a couple things. I'll tell you guys what we're gonna do for our candy thing, because we're gonna do the old 6-foot social distance thing and everything. We don't want to get a bunch of kids sick, or get sick from a bunch of kids. So what we're gonna do is I bought this big 10-12 foot piece of 5-inch diameter black ABS pipe, that irrigation pipe type stuff. What we're going to do is, I've got it actually sitting here in the shop. I'm going to slice it right down the center, down its length, so it makes a trough, right? Then I'm going to take that trough and I'm going to take some furniture paste wax and wax the inside of that trough so it's just slicker and snot. Then I've got a couple little stands. I'm gonna make a couple little stands. We live on like a hill, okay? We got a little patio right here and then it's a hill. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a short stand down here at the bottom, a tall stand at the top. I'm gonna make a couple notches in the end of the pipe so one of those big black plastic, like witch cauldron, candy buckets like about this big, hangs on the end of the trough so that we can sit there at the top and slide candy down the trough and it'll land in the bucket at the bottom. And then the kids can grab their candy. And I've got a really nice skeleton I'm going to put down there at the bottom, kind of holding the bucket, and one of those little fog machines pumping fog around it and stuff like that. But it should be kind of neat. I'm kind of looking forward to it, actually. Full moon, Saturday, Halloween. The weather's supposed to be really nice. So I'm planning on having a little fun with it. So that one's cut. Yeah, watch the little kiddos come and get their candy. And we usually give a lot of candy because we kind of live on a hill. And if somebody comes up to get candy from us, we like to make it worth their while. So we bought, oh my God, what did we buy? Like 6 or 7 of those gigantic bags of Costco candy. So we've got to have 30 pounds of candy, man. I mean, my wife kind of goes insane when it comes to stuff like that. She tends to, hey, it's nice. There's always candy left over for me, which is nice. But I really don't need to get any fatter. So let's do this last piece real quick. Get this last one on. So the last one's kind of the hardest. It's a little more difficult to mark. So I'm just going to take a shot and mark it where I think it should be, and cut a little outside of that mark, and then sneak up on it. So that's how I plan to get this done. All right, here we go. That's likely going to be long, which is what I wanted. Yep, a little long. So kiss the tooth. Go. The problem with these little bitty ones, I can't really get 2 hands on it. So sometimes it tends to shift over as soon as the blade touches it. So I'm not getting the best cut. I've really got to hold on to this thing, man. I really got to hold on. I can't get 2 hands on it. I don't want to trip the saw stop. That'd be stupid. I'd never hear the end of it, I bet. That's a little better cut. Still more. go. Get this just right. There we go. That looks like it might do it. If that did do it, my pencil mark ended up being pretty darn good. Nope, not enough. So I'm guessing that you guys are really incredibly bored by this. And I apologize, but I don't know what else to do. I honestly wish you guys were here.
We all wish we were there, Brennan.
As much as I complain about you guys sometimes, it'd be nice. You don't know what you had until you lose it.
Ain't that the truth?
You know what I mean? Sometimes I'm really curious how everybody's going to be when they finally open things back up. I'm curious what student attitude's going to be like. I mean, are they going to be just happier than heck to be here and raring to go? Or are they going to be, oh, screw this, I could have been home in bed still? Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and glue this so you guys can see that process. It's ready to go. So basically what I want to do is I want to take these off and set them down in the same order that they go back on. I do not want to mix these up. Now, granted, everything should be the same all the way around, but I'm not willing to take that particular chance at this time. So I'm going to make sure that these come off and go back on in the same order. Because normally doing trim like this, I would use that little pin nailer, that headless pin nailer, and nail these in. But I don't want to do that. I mean, this is such a small item that you would see the little holes left over, and it's really not necessary. It's really not going to be necessary. So I'm going to start here, and I have this little, I took one of the glue brushes, and I didn't want to just slobber, put glue all over the thing. It'd be kind of messy. So I trimmed a brush to be pretty small. I just took the scissors and trimmed it up. So it's a lot easier to get the glue where I want it and the amount of glue that I want. So I'm going to take this little guy and we'll see if we can get this glued up real quick. It'll only take a minute. Besides, what else do you have to do right now? Sleep. Okay. I'm trying to be careful about this. I don't want a bunch of glue squeeze out. This is, the smaller you get, the more difficult it is to deal with glue squeeze out and errors. And I've told you guys this before, that a lot of times students will pick a small project because they think it's a piece of cake and it's easy and it's cheap and stuff like that. When in reality, the smaller the project, most of the time, and when I say most of the time, I say nearly all the time, the smaller the project, the more difficult it is because you don't have the room for mistakes. Errors are glaring on small projects. You see them, and it's very difficult to not make mistakes and not have gaps and things like that in small projects. So this is basically, each one of these drawers is like its own little small project. And so it does take a little bit of, actually I kind of made a mistake. I need to go around. Just dump that whole thing in the glue. Stupid. So I want to work my way. I want to do this end one at the same time. So. All right, we're almost there, folks. Don't give up on me yet, okay? Please. All right, there There's my little one. So now the reason I want to do them both at the same time, so now I can line them up. I can get a little bit of pressure on there. Remove moist rag and get any squeeze out there cleaned up. Okay, so let's get the tape. Ouch. There's a very sharp tape thingy holder. And this tape is nice because it's really grippy, and so it allows you to get quite a bit of pressure on this, and it holds pretty well. So it's very tacky, but it doesn't leave a residue on the wood. So I got that going for me. Set it in. And I'm really pushing these pieces into place while I'm taping this. So it's basically a clamp. I mean, it's holding it very tight. Get a couple more here. Just because I'm going to run out of time here. So folks, if you want to go ahead and go, you can. Make sure you get your name in the chat, please. Thank you for being here. Take care of yourselves tonight, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow, okay? So I'm going to finish this up while you guys are checking out. And we should have the drawers done tomorrow and be able to start work on the timbre, okay? Fantastic.
Later, Brandon. See you tomorrow.
Andrew, thanks. Cramping.